Alright, hello. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about the landmark case, McCulloch v. Maryland. Some historical background about the case. The Second Bank was chartered in 1816 as one of the last acts of James Madison's presidency. It was founded in order to help raise funds post the War of 1812 because a lot of people thought that a federal bank was necessary in order to have a stable economy and to back up the currency. And Maryland imposed a tax on the Baltimore branch of the bank. So this court case is actually mainly centered around Maryland. The first federal bank, the first branch of it, at least, was established in Philadelphia, and with relatively no problems. Maryland was actually the one that this case, all the problems ensued afterwards. The case itself, McCulloch, who ran the federal bank, would refuse to pay the tax. Maryland argued that the founding of a federal bank was unconstitutional, and honestly speaking, um, this argument, the fact that, the federal government, it does not explicitly say anywhere in the Constitution that they were allowed to establish a federal bank, is in some sense true, but I'll be going over that later on why that is significant. McCulloch's attorneys would win the case unanimously. So this case is centered around really, in terms of McCulloch's argument, was the necessary and proper clause. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 states, "The Congress shall have power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department or officer thereof." So as you can see right here, this does not explicitly say anywhere that the federal government was allowed to establish a federal bank, but what it did say was that the federal government could use implied powers. So that was the argument, right? That this article right here states that the federal government is allowed to use implied powers to make decisions, right? And they had that sovereignty. The constitutional question established the precedent of implied powers and reduced states' ability to challenge federal institution. So kind of the same thing. It established the precedent of implied powers, and this still affects us very much till this day in terms of our modern political climate, you could say, and reduced states' ability to challenge federal institutions. So essentially the federal government putting the states in their place, establishing that kind of the federal government had power over the states. And I'd like to share this quote as well by Chief Justice Marshall. "We think the sound construction of the Constitution must allow to the national legislature that discretion with respect to the means by which the powers it confers are to be carried into execution, which will enable that body to perform the highest duties assigned to it in the manner most beneficial to the people." So I know that this quote itself might be a little bit, difficult to understand for some people, but essentially what it's stating is that the federal government was allowed to do what was implied in the Constitution, right? As long as it is not explicitly said within the Constitution that it is disallowed. So the federal government is able to do things that are implied within the Constitution, so far as it is not explicitly said that they are not allowed to do it, right? And so this would be very, very important within, the context of federalism and the context of what powers, did the federal government have over the states, and to what level did the states actually have sovereignty, and to what level could they overrule, things that the federal government say. So yeah.